Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. It's your man got him dots back with another episode of the Audible. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope you are enjoying life and all of that good stuff, man. But we are back. It has been a very, very, very busy 24 hours. It will continue to be busy because the NFL free agency, man. It is unique. Um, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. So much more different from the NBA when we're talking about free agency because this time of year guys get signed. How was the gala? Gala was awesome. It was awesome. I'm a yeah, it was something. I would say that it's always nice to get dressed up and prompt and prep or whatever that saying is. But yeah, had a good time. For a very good call. So yeah, I enjoyed myself, and the missus enjoyed herself more so than me. I like to just come and eat, and especially if it's something that I wasn't invited to. I'm just kind of like the plus one in this situation. Yeah, I just kind of grab my food and do my people watching. Do my people watch. But yeah, I had a good time. Had a very, 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 very good time. But yeah, other than that, yeah. What's going on, Gator Girl, Dr. Nikki, Miss Murray? How y'all doing? Um, yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna try to do my best to kind of keep up. Because like I said, with the NFL free agency, contracts cannot officially be signed until tomorrow. But this is what we call the legal tampering period. This is where agents and players and teams are able to negotiate deals. Guys get moved, and all of this stuff doesn't become official until tomorrow. But yeah, it's a lot to kind of talk about. I know some people are excited about some of the signings that they've made this off season so far. I mean, it's the NFL, man. It's what makes the NFL different from any other sport. Every team comes into the off season and has high hopes. Every signing, every trade is looked at as this is one step closer to being in the Super Bowl. In some cases, it's true, but in a lot of cases, your team may have got better, but your team may have gotten worse. When you kind of take a deep dive and look into things, and I try not to get overhyped about free agency. Since I studied the game a lot more outside of the lines, free agency is cool. It's worthwhile. It's kind of like the draft. You walk away from the draft thinking that, yeah, the guys that we pick are going to help us. And 9 times out of 10, if you're picking for all 7 rounds, you might walk away with about 2 to 3 quality players, maybe a starter or two. But hey, that's what makes the NFL so beautiful, because you can get hopeful about any additions to your team. Yeah, we're going to talk about. So we don't officially have Barkley. I mean, it's pretty much set in stone, Miss Murphy. Like I said, this is like the legal tampering period from March 11th all the way until the actual quote unquote league year officially starts. Teams and players and agents are able to negotiate deals that will become official tomorrow. Case in point, technically, Russell, let's say Russell Wilson, we'll start with him. Technically, Russell Wilson is still a Denver Bronco until the official league year starts, but they've already made their intentions known that they're going to release him anyway when the league year starts. They're going to eat $85 million in dead money, which is huge. But I want to start with the Russell Wilson signing for Pittsburgh. So some of these, like I said, some of the times when you have the free agency, sometimes it may be a move or two that kind of pushes the team over the edge. And 2 teams in particular so far, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, based on how their seasons went last year, the pieces that they have in place currently. There's 2 teams I think so far are head and shoulders above everybody else as far as quote unquote winning free agency. For some people, winning free agency is the thing. I look at Pittsburgh and I look at Atlanta, and then for the quarterback, the quarterback moves they made. We're going to start with Russell Wilson. Like I said, Russell Wilson technically is still a Denver Bronco until officially tomorrow when he will be released and then he'll be able to officially sign a contract when he signed in Pittsburgh. I love the Russell Wilson signing by the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you was been listening to the show, Pittsburgh was one of those teams I talked about. Hey, if they could get good quarterback play, they have the ingredients for having a very, very, very good team. And I think, bringing in Russell Wilson and you're only paying him $1.2 million, which is, absurd when you really think about it. But, he's still getting paid about $38 million from the Denver Broncos this season due to him being released due to the guaranteed money that they owed him. I love this signing by Pittsburgh. You bring in Russell Wilson. When you look at the stats from last year, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, did not have a bad year. It's just that, he was in Denver. Denver wasn't the team we thought they were going to be this season. Bringing in Sean Payton to be the head coach, you could tell right from the start that the relationship between Sean and Russell was not going to be a long-term thing, and it ended up breaking down in the last couple of games of the season when the whole contract situation, as far as him waiving some of the injury protections that he had in this contract, and it kind of gave them a way out. But that's a lot of money to eat. That is a lot of money to eat, and that's one of the things about free agency. When you look at some of these deals, don't look at the overall numbers. For example, if they say a guy signs for 4 years, $100 million, like you got to look at what the guaranteed money is and how the guaranteed money is spread out once the contracts become official. Then you can kind of see, what stress that puts on the team's salary cap. But we knew Russell Wilson was going to be out in Denver, and it was talks, rumor mills that Pittsburgh was in the running. It was talks that Atlanta, who we'll talk about in just a second, was also in the running to get the services of Russell Wilson. I like this deal on a lot of levels. One, it doesn't put any stress on Pittsburgh's cap. It's only a 1-year deal. It's kind of a prove it kind of a deal, but the kind of deal you don't normally see a quarterback of his caliber with his accolades. Guy's been to 9 Pro Bowls. You just don't see quarterbacks like him signing for that kind of money. When you look at the rest of the quarterbacks that got signed so far this offseason, or potentially getting signed so far this offseason, I'm looking at Jameis Winston. I'm looking at Jacoby Brissett. Baker Mayfield walked away with a nice chunk of change. All of these guys, when you look at, the accolades and the level of success that Russell Wilson has, don't compare, but they're getting paid more. But this is more of a prove it deal. It's low risk. And when I look at it for Pittsburgh and I look at it for Russell Wilson, it's a perfect marriage. He comes into a system. Mike Tomlin is a culture of winning. It is a culture of winning. And all last year, pretty much since Big Ben decided to retire, Pittsburgh's main issue is not having a quarterback that is able to command the offense, able to push the ball down the field. You had talent all over the field. You have a very good running back group back there, very good young running backs back there. Offensive line, pretty good. Maybe you can upgrade a piece or two along the offensive line, but this is not an offensive line that was getting murdered. The only thing that was holding Pittsburgh back last year was the quarterback play. This team rolled out 3 starting quarterbacks last year. I'm talking about Mason Rudolph, I'm talking about Kenny Pickett, I'm talking about Mr. Trubisky. Mason Rudolph, who is currently a free agent, I got to check and see if he's signed somewhere or not. He may just be kind of like laying in the weeds. He may even return back to Pittsburgh. But Trubisky, they've already moved on to him. And I look at Kenny Pickett. I wasn't very high on Kenny Pickett coming out of the draft. I didn't look at him as in the words of Cam Newton, I don't look at him as a game changer. I look at him as a game manager. But nonetheless, they spent the first round pick on the guy, threw him out there. He ended up getting hurt during the course of his rookie year. Ended up getting hurt again last year. But it just wasn't the level of play of quarterback play, especially when we're talking about competing in a very loaded AFC. When you compare the AFC to the NFC, you got to look at it and say, yeah, AFC is head and shoulders. When you look at the depth of play, just look at this division. You got Lamar Jackson at quarterback. You got Joe Burrow at quarterback. And you bring in a Russell Wilson into this division. Not even counting the Mahomes, the Justin Herberts, the Trevor Lawrences, the Josh Allens, the Tua. Like AFC, Pittsburgh needed a guy, even though they had a winning season last year. If they had good, strong quarterback play, and like I said, Russ played good last year. I just don't think a lot of people saw it. I think a lot of people were so wrapped up in the extracurricular stuff when it comes to him. But when you look at the play on the field, dude 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I mean, very good passer rating last year. But I love this marriage. Now, Pittsburgh ended up making a move late this afternoon, like about a couple of hours ago, trading Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers. The deal, particulars on that deal has not been finalized yet. I thought Pittsburgh was going to keep him. Have that combination with him, Pickens. You have Freiermuth at tight end, running back group, and bringing a quarterback who is known to push the ball down the field like a Russell Wilson. I thought this offense was had the potential to be something a little bit special. I'm curious to see what Pittsburgh does in the draft. I think they are going to address the wide receiver position. I know some people wanted to keep Deontay Johnson, but with some of the character issues they had with him, I think Pittsburgh was like, yeah, let's get ahead of this before this becomes another AB situation. We don't know another Antonio Brown. I like Deontay Johnson as a wide receiver, but too often he looked like he was floating out there, looked like he was taking plays off out there, and you can't be like that with a Mike Tomlin. I mean, there's only so much team will tolerate with your production until there's like, we can find a way to replace you. But I'm curious to see what Pittsburgh does at the wide receiver position in regards to that. If you bring back a healthy TJ Watt, this team, drafts pretty well. Maybe not spectacular players that blow your mind, but Pittsburgh is a culture of winning, and they bring in quality guys. So I'm looking at Pittsburgh, much like I was looking at them last season. This is just early. This is early. Wait till after the draft, and I kind of get into the season preview. Pittsburgh is one of those teams I'm looking out for. I think Russ comes in motivated, understands that hey, it's potential still for him to if he has a very good year on a 1-year deal, he could be getting the Baker Mayfield type contract, maybe a little bit more next season. I think if he comes in and produces like he did in Denver, Pittsburgh makes the playoffs. Pittsburgh makes a deep run in the playoffs. You might be seeing him getting a multi-year deal in Pittsburgh. And the beauty about the quarterback position now for those players, maybe not for us fans that are watching it, they don't get hit. They're not allowed to get kind of hit like they used to. So guys end up playing longer. Like back in the day, 35 was like you was on the downturn of your career as far as the NFL quarterback was concerned. Now you kind of look at 35 as you're kind of still in that peak area, and like Russ played well last year. I just think people mainly Sean Payton, just like he's not my guy. I don't blame the lack of the team's lack of success solely on Russell Wilson. He had the most fourth-quarter comebacks last year. Like I said, a lot of people just wasn't watching and paying attention to what was really going on in Denver. Denver has some other issues as far as scheme, and we'll talk about scheme when we get to talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, because you guys, you fans for the Eagles, Jesus Christ. I just had to kind of a couple of people I was on social media for when we came to that Eagles signing.
Wait a minute. First of all, you're not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Man, I had Eagles fans telling me, we're going to the Super Bowl because you got Saquon Barkley. And we'll talk about Saquon Barkley signing, but let's get to the other big quarterback news for free agency. Another team, you guys know I was very critical of the Atlanta Falcons last year. I was like, in the game that Desmond Ridder is starting, I'm picking against them. It ended up costing this team who had a very underrated defense and has weapons on the offensive side of the ball, but just didn't have a quarterback to take advantage of them. I'm kind of on the fence about the signing by Kirk Cousins, namely because I know Kirk Cousins is one of those guys that he'll kind of He'll bring you to the prom, but when it's time to get out there on the dance floor and it's money time and he's trying to show and prove, he's got two left feet. I'm just sorry, but I felt like Atlanta had to do something. I thought they would have been more aggressive, getting Russell Wilson, because I think Russell Wilson um, adds a little bit more to the offense than a Kirk Cousins. Not to say that Kirk Cousins is bad; he was off to a very good start last year before he got hurt. But you're bringing the guy in, making that kind of money. I'm not. I know what I'm gonna get from Kirk Cousins, man. And I've seen it time and time again since he's been in the league. Kirk Cousins has got to be like the luckiest goddamn quarterback I've ever seen when it comes to, getting the kind of money that he's gotten over his career. I mean, when we're talking about the franchise tag being used over and over on a quarterback position, and here it is, Kirk Cousins coming off a major knee injury, still is not showing that he's fully healthy and he's back. Walks in and getting buku money. But I like the move in the sense that Atlanta had to do something at the quarterback position. I thought they would have went after Russell Wilson. It was talks of them. What's going on, Spider? It was talks of them possibly getting Justin Fields. Justin Fields is kind of still in limbo. We'll talk about the Chicago Bears and what they plan on doing. Kind of like in response, because these quarterback moves kind of mess things up. I don't know if Atlanta was what the asking price was for Justin Fields. I've heard rumors of a 2. I've heard rumors of a 2 and a future 3. As far as like teams, being interested in getting Justin Fields, and Justin Fields still may get moved. Still may get moved if I'm, a team like maybe New England. I have a rookie head coach who's has shown that, and the team has shown interest in Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU, that can possibly be picked up at the number 3 pick in the draft. I think the Patriots might want to pick up the phone in Chicago, see, hey, will you get off of Justin Fields for a second round pick, maybe a future 4. Maybe we can get that to work and use that number 3 pick on and give Mayo a real chance to really rebuild this team. His image. But back to the Falcons. I think if Cousins is healthy, it allows Pitts to really get out there and show what he can do. I think Drake London is due for a boost in his production, and you're going to get the official start of the Bijan Robinson area. I like the combo they was doing, splitting carries with Algier last year. But I think, Bijan Robinson, with as special as the talent he is, it's time for him to be the feature back. And you bring a Kirk Cousins in that allows, that box to be a little bit light, because whether you like Kirk Cousins or not, you have to respect the man's arm talent. You have to respect his production out there on the field. And, you saw what happened last year when the Falcons didn't have a quarterback. You're talking about a team that was, top 10 defense. If the offense was just, somewhat competitive, we could have been talking about Atlanta being, looked at as kind of like hint, the Detroit Lions. As I've been, Atlanta, I'm looking at you, I'm watching you, but Kirk Cousins got paid. I mean, it's cool, but it's not, going to, for me, not going to move the needle. I got to see what they do with the rest of the teams. Got to see what they do with the number 8 pick. Most mock drafts have them taking a defensive lineman, namely Dallas Turner, from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. But we'll see. Like I said, free agency, people get hyped. The deals are flying left and right. Money is being spent left and right. Speaking of money being spent left and right, Saquon Barkley gets signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. And, like I said, Philadelphia Eagles fans was jumping out the window, trying to tell me this is going to push us over to the Super Bowl. And I don't really look at the Saquon Barkley move as that big of a needle mover. When we're talking about possible power play in the NFC, I don't look at that especially when you look at some of the other moves that they made or didn't make. We're talking about Kelsey retiring, Fletcher Cox retiring. You still have to fill out the back end of that secondary. You still got to get some quality linebackers. Yes, you bring in a Saquon Barkley, but he doesn't fix um, the problems that we saw from last year from the Philadelphia Eagles. And you heard it here on this show week after week after week after week. The issues wasn't talent on the field. You're bringing in Saquon Barkley. It's not like DeAndre Swift was trash. At one point early in the year when you were a much more balanced offense, DeAndre Swift at one point in the year was leading the league in rushing. So the dude it still ended up with over 1,000 yards, and you consider he will not get carries for large chunks of games, especially in the second half of the season. When it became very apparent that Philadelphia didn't know what the hell they was doing as far as the play calling. Yeah, you bring in a Saquon Barkley. Yes, he's a talented player. He's a much more talented player than Swift, but I don't think running the ball was the issue. Like I said, DeAndre Swift had 1,000 yards last year. Saquon only had 13, and I think Swift, if you'd have kept riding him, could have ended up with more than that 13 that Saquon had when he was just the focus, primary focus for the New York Giants. But Saquon Barkley, is a very good player. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I think the issues that Philadelphia has is not necessarily with the players on the field. I think it's still on the sidelines. Play calling is going to have to improve next year. You're going to have to make some changes along that offensive line. Travis Kelce is retired. You can put a guy in there, but I don't think you can replace what Travis Kelce brings to this team. Philadelphia, they're young in some parts of the team, but this is still a veteran team. Still a veteran team, but I don't see it. Like I get you guys are excited to get Saquon Barkley, but it's not like you add Saquon Barkley and I'm picking you over the 49ers as as it stands right now. You still got some moves to make. I just don't see it. It's not like you guys you had a decent running back. Yeah, you had a decent running back. DeAndre Swift, who went on to join the Chicago Bears. You had a very good running back. Your issue was play calling. I don't see how adding Saquon Barkley helps the progression of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, I think some of it was due to injury, but I think a lot of it was doing the play calling, not having that cohesive relationship with the offensive coordinator is what led to him regressing last year. And you're gonna have, and I know some of you Eagles fans are out there. You guys start off the season kind of rough. You're gonna start looking at Jalen Hurts. And you're gonna start looking at that contract he got before last season. Start thinking like, damn, did this guy just have a career here to get the bag? I'm still a Jalen Hurts fan. Roll Tide. I'm still a Jalen Hurts fan, but I don't think bringing in Saquon makes life easier for him. It's a move. It's a move. Like I said, it's not a needle mover for me. I still think Detroit. When you look at Detroit's roster as it stands and how it could look, I think Detroit's still a better team than Philadelphia. I think San Francisco's still a better team than Philadelphia. You can make an argument for Dallas. I think that's kind of a toss up, considering what's been going on or not going on for the Cowboys as far as free agents concerned. Only thing we've done is hired a goddamn long snapper. But Saquon, it's a big move. It grabs headlines, but I'm curious to see how that makes life easier for Jalen Hurts and how that affects this offense as a whole. Because I didn't hear anybody talking about DeAndre Swift being a less than when they were 10-1. It's when you start losing and he's really not getting the ball. If you was watching those Eagles game, DeAndre Swift really wasn't getting the ball like that. He was kind of like phased out of the offense for large chunks of those games. So, but I'm curious to see, one, can Barkley make it through a whole season? That's been a very rare feat for him. He's always had the injury bug kind of bite him. Last season was one of his healthier seasons being in the league. But I'm curious to see what that relationship, how that looks out on the field. But I'm from an Eagles fan, Don't be worried about the pieces that you're putting on the field. You need to be worried about what's going on the sidelines. What's going on? Who's doing the play calling? Who's supposed to be masterminding all these pieces that they're acquiring? They're just drooling over. That's part of the love I love about free agency, man. You guys, got teams pick up a guy and all of a sudden they're Super Bowl bound. Speaking of a team that may be Super Bowl bound next year, the Baltimore Ravens bringing in Derrick Henry. I like Derrick Henry, and it's not a knock on his talent. I think Derrick Henry can be productive damn near anywhere you put him in the NFL. I don't think it's a team out there that can't find a way to utilize his talents as a running back, but has I got to see what Baltimore does with the rest of the off season to kind of see. And once again, this is not a move I think moves the needle as far as a team going up or down on the power ranking scale for me. Like I said, I like Derrick Henry as a player. Hell, I would have loved him in Dallas. Could it have been an upgrade over Tony Pollard, who moved on, thank God. But Baltimore was already a running team. This was an opportunity. Could have spent that money bringing in maybe another tight end, pass catching tight end. You still have some question marks on the outside of the receiver position. Bringing in, and Baltimore is a team that has shown, hey, you have Lamar Jackson. You can pretty much put anybody back there at the running back position and be successful with how the offense is kind of called in Baltimore. I don't think bringing in Derrick Henry is going to make life that much easier for Lamar Jackson. I think they would have been better off bringing in maybe a more dynamic running back. If you want to bring in a guy that can kind of change life for you, maybe Saquon. If the money was right, could have been an option. Could have been an option in Baltimore. I think Saquon would be a better fit in Baltimore, considering what they like to do. But no knock on Derrick Henry, man. Still got it. He's been kind of slowed down with injuries a little bit last couple seasons, but it's still got it. But I don't think adding Derrick Henry really moves the needle. I don't think it really kind of changes the power structure in the AFC. The running game got a little bit better, I guess, because it's a more talented player. But you were doing just fine with the Gus Edwards and the Justice Hills and any other guys you have, plug and play at the running back position. I think you should have spent, and this is my personal opinion with Baltimore. I think you should have spent a little bit of that money or possibly bringing in more pass catching help. You still have, you still have Zay Flowers, who I like. Now, he had a very good rookie season. But Odell's free agent. He's not. What are you going to do at the wide receiver position? I think But hey, that's just me. We'll see what they do come draft time. Because like I said, free agency and draft kind of go hand in hand. It kind of changes what teams may or may not be doing. Come draft time, case in point, kind of like look at the Atlanta Falcons. It was talks to them possibly moving up, trading up to get a quarterback. End up signing Kirk Cousins. I think that kind of goes out the window. I don't think they're trading up from the number 8 pick to go get a quarterback. But hey, Derrick Henry, doesn't move the needle. Now, you Giants fans out there, I had to talk about you because I'm confused. I've got to give the Giants, and it's one of these teams that are excited, but I got to give them. What you bring in Brian Burns, a very good pass rusher. You let Saquon walk. I think that relationship had reached this end after what happened last off season. But what are you doing, Giants? I don't understand. What are you doing? What the hell are you? Brian Burns comes in, you trade for him, and we'll talk about the Carolina Panthers because I'm confused about what the hell they got going on. Also, because I remember last offseason, teams were trying to get Brian Burns, was offering 2 first-round picks for him, and Carolina's like, "No, we're going to keep him." And then you trade him away this offseason for a second I don't want to say a second and a fifth. Like, but Giants fans like, um, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have Daniel Jones who's coming back for off an injury. You don't say resign Saquon. Like I said, I think that relationship had reached its end. I don't think Saquon had any interest in returning after the contract battle he had with him last off season. But I look at what are you doing? It's a market out there with some very good pass catchers. I'm looking at Calvin Ridley still being a free agent. You guys haven't pursued him. Gabe Davis, former wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. You don't really go after him. Like, how are you setting up Daniel Jones? How are you setting up Daniel Jones for success? Like I said, the draft is still coming up. You guys can still make some moves. It's a very good wide receiver class as far as the draft is concerned. But I mean, your big move is the trade for Brian Burns and give him the bag. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it, especially when you have had guys out there, keyword being had, like a Daniil Hunter was also out there on the free agent market. You could have signed him. You could have signed Jonathan Grenard, former defensive end for the Texans. You could have signed him. You could have brought in Jadeveon Clowney if you were trying to get a guy opposite of Thibodeau. What are you doing? I'm kind of confused about the direction of the team. Trust me, I love it because as a Cowboy fan, I want you guys to be confused as hell. I mean, you let Tyrod Taylor walk. What are you doing? What I don't understand the direction that your team is going in, and I look at it as it's going to be another one of those wild seasons for you Giants fans. Like, I don't see what. Geez, I mean, it was a very good running back class. Even if you wasn't going to sign Saquon, you had Josh Jacobs out there. He ended up signing with the Packers, which I think was a very good move. We'll talk about that in a second. I mean, it was a very good running back class. That, if you wanted to go out there and get a guy to kind of replace the production of a Saquon, Austin Eckler, who ended up signing with the Commanders. Devin Singletary, like it was guys out there. I mean, Aaron Jones is still out there, albeit a little bit older considering the running back position, but it's like, what are you doing? Like, you didn't upgrade. You didn't upgrade key positions. And like you said, you had a little bit of money, like Brian Burns. Like, I'm confused. I'm confused as hell. I'm confused as hell. Speaking of being confused, Carolina, what the hell are you doing? I know you just guys just traded for Deontay Johnson. Thankfully, that gives Bryce Young another weapon on the outside. But you had a chance. You're going to go. Here's the thing about going into a rebuild. You can't half-ass it when it comes to rebuilding, especially in NFL. If you're gonna tear it down, tear it all the way goddamn down. And I think Carolina made a mistake last year. You move up to get Bryce Young, but you still had a guy who you wanted to sign. You stated your intentions publicly. You wanted to sign, but we're in a full rebuild. You got to take a look at the team that you have, the talent that you have. It's like, yeah, this team is not going to be competitive for the foreseeable future. As currently constituted, I would have traded Brian Burns last year. Could have got 2 first-round picks for the guy. Now you trade him, and the only thing you get is a second and a fifth. I know draft capital is cool, but 2-1 sound a whole lot better than in the second and the fifth any day of the week. Any day of the week. But Carolina, I'm confused about, what are you really doing? This is a very good class for offensive line. I do like some of the additions that you made along the offensive line. I do like that, but I'm confused. I'm honestly confused. I do like you signing Robert Hunt away from the Dolphins. And Damon Lewis, and two of the best guards that was out there. What else are you doing? I don't get it. Considering when you look at the rest of the NFC South as far as what they've done with free agency thus far and what they could potentially be doing in the draft, and you guys are playing catch up. I thought, this may be a time to be a little bit more aggressive and bringing in some talent, but you guys, just haven't do it. I look at Carolina, unless something happens later on in free agency or they have a unbelievable draft. I look at this team being, in the back of the line again. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. Like I said, what are you doing? A team that I'm watching very closely as far as what they've done so far in free agency. Um, Green Bay. Green Bay. I like you bringing in Josh Jacobs, bringing him over from the Raiders. I do like you bringing in Xavier McKinney, the safety. Makes that secondary even stronger. Green Bay. Jordan Love with another year, if he has the year kind of year he had last year. Green Bay right back in the thick of things as far as the division is concerned against Detroit, and it's right back in that conversation as one of those teams to watch in the NFC. I like bringing in Jacobs. You move on from Aaron Jones, who's a talented running back, but is often too hurt to get out there and really give you quality production. Um, bring in a Josh Jacobs. You know, it was last, it was the year before, led league in rushing yards from scrimmage. Um, very, very good young running back. Add him with Jordan Love, add him with the young receivers that you have. Now, I do think you got to have some questions along that offensive line with David Bakhtiari being released. Like, how do you, kind of do a little tweaking on the offensive side of the ball? But this is a team that is in prime position as it currently stands to if everything goes well, we may be talking about Green Bay being in that upper echelon, that top tier, as far as the NFC teams are concerned when it's all said and done. Because you got all the pieces. I think Jordan Love is a slightly better quarterback than Jared Goff. If you can continue making additions along this team through the draft and through the rest of free agency, I might be picking Green Bay next year to come out of this division. It's no slight to Detroit, but um, Green Bay is a team that kind of flew under the radar, especially that second half of the season. People weren't watching. Trust me, I was watching. And that's why I told you guys. They scared me when it came to the playoffs because I saw them. I watch. Ain't a hater, but kind of moving on, looking at some of the other big moves, um, possibly being other big moves, in regards to free agency thus far. Who else had yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs, bringing back Chris Jones. You kind of had to bring him back, man. You kind of had to bring him back. He got paid. Allows him to still be the force on the defensive side of the ball. You bring in another pass catching tight end and Herb Smith. I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to get a deal done with L'Jarius Sneed. I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to get a deal done with L'Jarius Sneed. But for the most part, they didn't really lose a lot of high quality talent on this team, and it's still a team that is in position to add talent. Name probably, they'll probably do a lot of that through the draft. Excuse me. Probably do a lot of that through the draft. Tennessee, Tony Pollard got paid. Congratulations to him. But yeah, Tennessee, you're gonna find out what I found out as a Cowboys fan last year. That is that is yeah, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for. You want this guy to be running back one. Be careful what you ask for. A team that I think is making good quality moves, and this is shout out to Gator Girl who I saw early in the show. A team that I think is making good quality moves as far as free agency is kind of getting started. It's Jacksonville Jaguars. I like them bringing in Gabe Davis. It's a possibility they can still bring back Calvin Ridley. That leaves Trevor Lawrence with two very good weapons on the outside. They did bring in a very two very good, underrated offensive linemen at the center position and the guard position. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get a deal done with Josh Allen on the defensive side, but they bring in a safety, Darnell Savage, makes that secondary a little bit stronger, and they bring in Mac Jones. I think that's a very good insurance policy to bring in, considering the injury history of a Trevor Lawrence. You bring in a guy, Mac Jones, still young. You don't you didn't give up much to get him. A 6th round draft pick. You gave up a 6th round draft pick to the Patriots to bring it. I like. I think Matt Jones can be a very good spot starter, and if need be. And like I said, with the injury history of a Trevor Lawrence, you had to kind of upgrade the backup position. But I'm watching Jacksonville. I'm watching Jacksonville. Um, I'm curious to see what they do with the rest of free agency. I'm curious to see what they do with the draft. Now that they've kind of kind of addressed the wide receiver position by bringing in Gabe Davis, who had some very good years up there in Buffalo. We'll talk about what Buffalo's got going on or not going on a little bit later. Like I said, I'm not gonna be up here all night, but I'm gonna be up here for a minute. But I'm watching you, Jacksonville. I'm watching to see what you got going on. With your your team. Like I said, I like some of the moves, bringing in some guys along the offensive line, which you need help. I think that'll help open up the run game, give Trevor Lawrence a little bit more protection. I think you ought to look at bringing back Calvin Ridley. Now I know Calvin Ridley has some weird language in the trade that kind of brought him over in this deal. I think he's worth a potential. I think if they re-sign him. Atlanta is owed like a 2nd-round pick. I would resign him. I mean, this is a very good wide receiver group, but this is not Jacksonville. You're really not in a position to be developing young talent like that. When considering how competitive the AFC is, I think you got to have more of a win now mentality. And some of the moves that you made, like I said, naming along the offensive line, I like. I really like some of those moves. Along the offensive line. I think Buffalo, with some of the moves that they made as far as before the free agency periods that kind of started, releasing guys. I'm curious to see how you kind of fill in those gaps, those veteran players that you kind of got rid of, and the guys that you kind of bringing in. It just kind of like pieces. There's pieces so far. I'm not liking Buffalo start the free agency, but hell, who am I to talk to Cowboys? We ain't signed nobody but a goddamn long snapper. And that's what happens when you draft well and give guys big contracts. You got to figure out how to pay people. I think it kind of went under the radar, but the Cowboys did, or I want to say last week, picked up the 5th-year option on Michael Parsons, gives them a little bit of time to kind of work out a deal. We'll kind of see what that looks like as we get further into the offseason. What else? Who else was I like Tyrod Taylor going to the Jets as a backup, considering the injury history of Aaron Rodgers. I think the Jets had to kind of address backup quarterback, had to be in a position they had to kind of address. We'll see what they do as far as addressing the offensive line. I think they're going to try to tackle that during the draft. But I like Tyrod Taylor coming in, a guy who's shown he can win in this league. And I think that's one of the things that kind of held the Jets back last year was once Rodgers went down, you couldn't find good quarterback play to go along with a fantastic defense. What a fantastic defense. I think the defense is still going to be in the upper echelon as far as NFL is concerned, as far as rankings. But you bring in Tyrod Taylor, it's a move. It's not going to draw a lot of fanfare, but considering, like I said, the injury history with Aaron Rodgers, you bring in Tyrod Taylor, like I said, a guy who's known to come in. He could be a starter for short stretches if needed. So I think that allow Aaron Rodgers to be a little bit more carefree. Like I said, the Jets had to kind of address the backup quarterback position. I don't know. I don't think they've officially gotten rid of Wilson, but we'll see. It's some team out there that'll give up a 6th round, possibly future 5th round pick for the guy. Maybe. I'm looking at what's going on in Cincinnati. You trade Joe Mixon. You trade him to the Texans. You replaced him with Zach Moss, who I think was a very good spot running back for the Colts last year. But I don't think he's running back one. I think he's a guy that works well in the committee. He did franchise tag T Higgins, but T Higgins has come out and said he wants to trade. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be really willing to compensate. I like T Higgins, but dude, it's with them placing the non-exclusive franchise tag on you, which allows you to kind of negotiate. Team. I don't see teams really giving up real future draft capital to bring in a guy that he's a very good wide receiver, but he's not. You're not Chase. You're not Jamar Chase, man. And there's no slight on T Higgins. Very good wide receiver. Very, very, very good wide receiver. But I don't see him being the focal point of my offense as far as passing is concerned. Good luck with that. I think Cincinnati, your whole thing is get Burrow back healthy and get some help along that offensive line, and I think you'll be okay. Cleveland Browns trading for Jerry Jeudy. I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm kind of confused by this move. You only gave up a 56th round pick for him. A talented wide receiver coming out of Alabama, Roll Tide. I don't think receiver was the primary. It should have been a primary focus. I think you could have addressed that during the draft. Like I said, this is a very deep draft class. Your biggest thing is, hey, what can we do to ensure that Deshaun Watson is going to be successful? During the course of his contract. Jerry Jeudy, I saw enough of him in Denver. This is not running wide receiver one, more of a wide receiver 2, 3. I just don't, I think he could have addressed that during the draft, kind of possibly save those picks, for guys in other positions. But that's just me. What the hell do I know? Back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, another move that kind of went under the radar. Patrick Queen, middle linebacker coming over from the Baltimore Ravens, I think was a very good pickup for them. Patrick Queen, with him and Roquan Smith had a very dynamic linebacker core in Baltimore. I think people were really focused on Raekwon because Raekwon Smith, in my opinion, is the second best middle linebacker in the league next to Fred Warner. But Patrick Queen is no slouch. I want to say he was second team All Pro last year. You just didn't hear about him unless you was a Baltimore fan. But for the Steelers to bring in Russell Wilson, who can quarterback the offense on the other side, you bring in a Patrick Queen, who can help direct traffic for Pittsburgh. I'm liking what they're doing. I'm liking what they're doing. Like a lot of other teams made moves. It's not really, for me, not moving the needle. Like the Colts bringing back Michael Pittman on that kind of a deal, 3 years, $70 million. Cool, 46 million. I guess. I just, we didn't really have a chance to see what he looked like, what his report would look like with Anthony Richardson, who's going to be coming back from injury next year. Like, is that going to click? And you kind of dump that money into him. Like I said, this is a very deep wide receiver class, and I thought wide receivers was going to kind of take a back seat considering how deep this class is. It's been reported that you might see 6 or 7 wide receivers go just in the first round. I mean, is that deep? That deep of a class, and I'm kind of confused on some of these contracts that they're giving out to these wide receivers. I'm kind of shocked. Another shocking move before I kind of get up out of here because I've been kind of running my mouth too long. Christian Wilkins coming over from the Miami Dolphins, going to shore up the interior of that defensive line. I like the combination of him on the inside, Max Crosby, wrecking shop on the outside. I got to see. They also brought in Gardner Minshew to compete for the quarterback position. I think they're going to maybe roll with Aiden O'Connell. I don't see them trading up in the draft. Maybe if a quarterback falls to them, such as a Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy falls to them, they may take a shot on them. I mean, Gardner Minshew had a decent year. Filling in for Anthony Richardson last year has always been kind of a good pinch starter, much like a Tyrod Taylor. Like he's not going to make the spectacular play, but he's not going to kill you if he's at the quarterback position for a number of games. But I'm watching you Raiders. I'm watching you Raiders. I'm curious to see what you're going to do as far as your draft is concerned, and with Antonio Pierce officially taking over for the team. Like I said, I do like them bringing in Christian Wilkins, very underrated defensive. I can't even call him nose tackle. Interior defensive lineman. Had a very good year as far as being able to get a pass rush push. You combine that with the Max Crosby, who's capable enough to go inside on passing downs and can still be on the outside on non-passing down. I'm curious to see what that kind of looks like. I like it, on paper. I like it on paper, but I got to see it out there on the field. I've got to see it out there on the field. And let me see, is any other notable? Did I miss any big uh, uh Commanders? Trying to become Dallas Dallas East, I guess, with some of their signs, but well, that I don't think that's going to mean anything. I'm just being a little bit arrogant when I say that. Let's see. The Vikings, lose out on Cousins, bring in Sam Darnold. We'll see. Um, we'll see. They'll bring over Gennard, former defensive end for the Texans, to replace Daniil Hunter. I kind of like that move. If you're going to lose an elite pass rusher, try to replace him with one if you can. But other than that, I think that's about it as far as like some of the major moves. Like I said, all of these moves that you see reported, I become official until the official league new league year starts tomorrow. I want to say it's at, is it 12 or 4, one or the other. But these moves don't become official until tomorrow. And past history has shown some of these deals may not actually happen due to a guy not passing a physical or something like that. They may have to rework a trade or something like that. But yeah, it's a very exciting time for the NFL teams. Fans more than anything get hype. I'm looking at you, Philadelphia. I'm looking at you, Baltimore. You get hyped and think you gotta sign one dude, and that's it. Very rarely is the season one in the free agency period. I think you can look at it with teams how well they draft, how well they stock talent. As far as a team being successful, now and in the future. Free agency is what free agency is. As teams spending cap, trying to find ways to plug those holes that they may have on their team. But very rarely do you see a guy that gets signed in free agency and takes a team over the top. It very rarely happens. Very rarely happens. I think everybody's trying to get that Reggie White free agent signing that takes their franchise over the top. But we'll see. We'll see. Yes, Dr. Nikki. Exactly. I mean, you should have heard some of this the commentary I was seeing from especially Eagles fans, because like they talk about Cowboys fans being where they about to wear. Oh man, we got Saquon. It's going to the Super Bowl. That don't fix your damn play calling. That don't fix the coaching issues y'all had. It wasn't a talent thing. I think if you could have kept DeAndre Swift, you'd have just been fine. Find a way. DeAndre Swift wasn't the reason that Jalen Hurts wasn't able to pick up the blitz. Couldn't read coverages. Was confused by some of the play calling decisions. I mean, they don't blame the running back. I told you guys all season, but the haters didn't want to listen. I was telling you, it was play calling. It was play calling. I kept saying it week after week. You was winning. I said, something ain't right. Quarterback and the offensive coordinator matching up. I was telling y'all all season. But I like Saquon. But now I don't think that changes life. It's not like the RPO becomes that much more deadly because you got him. DeAndre Swift is a very good running back. Reason why he got paid by Chicago. He had a very DeAndre had a very good season. It wasn't no bum. It wasn't no scrub for Philadelphia. The scrub was on the sideline calling the plays, but that's neither here nor there. I know y'all say it every year, and I'm having to deal with angry Cowboys fans. I'm like, man, we got to do something. We got to sign somebody. Look, man, you got to understand what the salary cap is for the Cowboys. You got to understand that when you draft well, now you got to pay guys. You got to pay Dak. You picked up the options on Diggs and Parsons last couple seasons. What are you going to do with Gallup? Gilmore is a free agent. I think you could bring him back. I should want to bring him back if no other reason to put Deron Bland back in that nickel spot where I think he can be just as effective than on the outside. But Cowboys fans, I mean, this is what it is. When you got to pay for the price of success. You came into, I don't think Cowboys fans understand this. You came into the offseason technically, really with about $2 to $5 million in cap space. You wasn't never in the sweepstakes for none of these big names. I don't give a damn what Jerry's talking about all in. Jerry's talking about, hey, how can I restructure deals and keep the core of this team as it is. I mean, that's one of the prices you pay for drafting well. Some people are able to navigate those waters. I'm looking at you, Kansas City Chiefs, and sometimes they can't. But anyway, as always, it's always been a pleasure, man. Make sure y'all tune in on Thursday. We will be kind of doing a little bit of some more free agency stuff, but we'll be talking about some of the NBA news. Some of the power rankings and some of the games that I saw. I want to say thank you to the good brother Speakeasy, and I want to say thank you to Unc for paying up on their bets, because I told y'all. See, y'all gonna start listening to me when I say I'll be watching, I'll be analyzing for real. I'm not just saying it to be hateful. Told you, Jason Tatum. I got a big question mark for him. He comes up small in the clutch, and the numbers back it up. And his performance against the Denver Nuggets last week showed that to me. He ain't. When we talk about being the face of the league, you got to be that dog in the fourth quarter. You got to be that dog. You know what? I never had those concerns about a Jimmy Butler. I'm just saying. But anyway, thank y'all for taking the time out to listen to me. As always, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, thumbs up, thumbs down, all of that good stuff. Like I said, we'll be back on Thursday. I'm thinking of doing a Freestyle Friday show over here. I got to find me some good source material. I just want to get up. I don't want to get up here and just be rambling. I'm trying to find some good source material. I do have something in regards to, I think it'll be a very good topic for those who want to look it up. The comments made about Emmitt Smith as far as telling players that attend Florida universities. If you have not been kind of paying attention, been kind of living under the rock, Florida has been real hard on taking the quote unquote Black history and diversity out of the school systems all the way around, including on the collegiate level. And I know the NAACP has made some statements about players possibly looking to go somewhere else besides teams in Florida. We'll talk about it. Matter of fact, that'll be the topic on Friday. But we'll do that on Friday for the Freestyle Friday show. Make sure you tune in for that. I think that'll be a worthwhile conversation. Like I said, I try to mix the sports and the social up on those shows. But anyway, let me get my behind up out of here. I gave y'all an extra long show. I don't know why, but hey, I'm just excited. Free agency, just to see all this stuff kind of going down and who's going where and all. I mean, it's the excitement of the NFL. No other sport, where teams get, people get excited. Oh man, we signed a guard, man. We can, and they like the NBA. When big name free agents move, it means those are needle movers. But anyway, thank y'all for coming out. And end you off with the phrase that pays around here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.